let's take a gentle step into nature's wisdom. Welcome. Settle in and soften your shoulders. There's a quiet little fruit waiting for us today. I'm so glad you've come to sit with Persimmon for a while.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. Let's wander into the quiet of Persimmon season together. Today, we'll taste a warm roasted half, tuck a small jar of persimmon butter into the pantry, and try a very mild, well-diluted persimmon pulp mask as a short tactile pause.
Before we begin, a gentle note. Everything I described today is culinary and sensory, not medical. We'll talk safety steps, how to know when a persimmon is ready, how to do a tiny patch test for topical use, and how to store small batches so they stay lovely. First, picture persimmon as a sun-amber pocket of sweetness. When it's ripe, some varieties melt into a honeyed softness. Others keep a pleasant firmness with a sweet, crisp bite. When unripe, persimmon can be astringent and puckery. It asks us to wait.
That waiting is part of the charm. Quick note on the common varieties you might see. Fuyu is squat and can be eaten while still firm. Look for a slight give and glossy skin. Hachia is pointed and needs to become very soft and almost jelly-like before it loses that tannic astringency.
Ripeness cues to listen for. The skin should feel smooth and have a subtle give when you press gently. Color deepens to a warm orange. For hachia, the flesh becomes translucent and yields under the lightest touch. If you're unsure, offer a fingertip taste from a tiny spoonful once the fruit feels soft. That small sample will tell you if sweetness has arrived.
Sourcing notes. Look for fruit without bruises or breaks in the skin. And if you can, support local orchard stalls where persimmons have ripened on the tree. If you find firm hachias at market, set them on your counter in a single layer to soften. They'll reward you in a few days.
There's a small memory I keep with persimmons. A neighbor once left a tiny jar of stewed persimmon on our doorstep, a quiet hello in autumn light. I opened it with a spoon and found a comfort that felt like a sunlit room. That small ritual, giving a taste, a jar, a little slow-made thing, is what we're after today.
And that's a lovely anchor for these practices. Gentle sharing, slow kitchens, and small textures that invite us to slow down. Ready for practical use? Oven-roasted spoonable persimmon.
Practical use. Oven-roasted spoonable persimmon. This is simple and lovely with tea. Choose fully ripe persimmons. You want a soft, yielding fruit. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Halve the persimmons lengthwise, leaving the skin on. If there's a stem, remove it. Press the halves flush side up on a baking sheet lined with parchment.
For a little finishing touch, a tiny sprinkle of warm spice, a pinch of cinnamon or a few seeds of cardamom, or a tiny drizzle of honey after roasting. But plain is also beautiful. Roasted persimmon is spoonable and warm and almost custardy when it's done.
Roast the halves for about 25 to 35 minutes, depending on size, until the flesh has collapsed slightly and is tender when you press it with a spoon. You're aiming for a spoonable, soft texture. Let them cool just a touch. They keep their warmth but aren't scalding. Serve directly from the skin with a small spoon and a cup of mild tea.
If seeds or stringy fibers show up as you scoop, a quick pass through a fine mesh strainer will make the experience silkier. Spoon the roasted flesh through the sieve into a bowl. That's the simple roasted persimmon ritual. Warm, tactile, and quietly sweet.
Practical use. Tiny persimmon butter for the pantry. This is a small batch, low-sugar spread you can keep chilled and enjoy on toast or stirred into yogurt. Start with 2 cups of peeled, chopped, ripe persimmon pulp. For a gentle sweetness, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of sugar or honey if you like, and the juice of half a lemon to brighten flavor and help balance sweetness. If you prefer no added sugar, simply simmer the fruit slowly and taste as it reduces.
On the stovetop, place the pulp, sweetener if using, and lemon juice in a small saucepan. Cook over low to medium-low heat, stirring now and then until the mixture thickens and most of the excess moisture has evaporated, about 30 to 45 minutes. If you prefer a hands-off method, slow roast the chopped fruit at 300 degrees for an hour, then mash and reduce further on the stove until the texture is spreadable.
Persimmon butter should be spreadable and slightly glossy. If you want extra silkiness, press the cooked pulp through a fine sieve while it's warm. Cool the finished butter briefly, then spoon into a small sterilized jar, seal, and refrigerate promptly. Label with the date. In refrigeration, small batches are best used within 2 weeks. For longer keeping, freeze in small portions.
Important spoilage signs to watch for: bubbling, an off or yeasty smell, or any visible mold. If you see or smell any of those, discard the jar. Making small jars reduces waste and invites sharing. A tiny jar is a sweet neighborly gift.
Practical use C. A very mild persimmon pulp mask. This is a tactile sensory pause rather than a beauty cure. A quick safety note first. Always patch test. Apply a small amount of the diluted mixture to a clean patch of inner forearm and wait 24 hours for any sign of sensitivity before using on the face.
If you're patch testing right now, mix 1 teaspoon of fresh strained persimmon pulp with 2 teaspoons of plain yogurt, or 1 teaspoon of aloe vera gel plus 1 teaspoon of water. That gives a well-diluted mixture. Apply a tiny dab to the inner forearm, cover with a small bandage if you like, and observe the skin for 24 hours. If redness, itching, or unusual irritation appears, do not use on the face.
When you're ready for a short facial application and have a clear patch test, mix 1 teaspoon of strained persimmon pulp with 2 teaspoons of a mild base, plain yogurt, strained aloe gel, or even a little chamomile infusion cooled to room temperature. Apply a thin layer to clean skin, leave for no more than 3 to 5 minutes, then rinse thoroughly with lukewarm water. Pat dry and move on with your usual moisturizer.
And a few cautions. Never apply to broken or irritated skin. Avoid contact with the eyes, and stop immediately if you feel stinging or strong burning. This is meant to be a short sensory pause. Texture, scent, and the act of gentle touch are what you're exploring, not intense treatments.
Sourcing and safety brief. A compact checklist. 1. Only use fully ripe persimmons for eating and preserving. 2. Strain out seeds and coarse fibers for silkier textures. 3. For preserves, make small jars, refrigerate promptly in sterilized containers, label with dates, and discard at the first sign of fermentation. 4. For topical use, always patch test, dilute well, and keep contact times short.
If you ever feel unsure about ripeness or safety, choose the simplest option. Roast a half and enjoy it warm, or keep the fruit refrigerated until it yields gently to the touch. Small sensory rituals are meant to be soothing, not stressful.
Imagine a late sun orchard, branches bright with orange orbs, a hush between the trees, the gentle drips of late honey. Breathe in that stillness. Imagine holding a warm spoonful of roasted persimmon, the heat, the softness, how it lingers on the tongue like a quiet sunbeam.
And one soft takeaway. Choose one small persimmon habit to try this week. Roast a half for an afternoon cup of tea. Make a tiny jar of persimmon butter to brighten a morning. Or try that 3 to 5 minute tactile mask after a calming shower. Small acts, repeated, become dear rituals.
Recipe reminders. Quickly. Roasted persimmon. Preheat 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Halve, roast 25 to 35 minutes until spoonable. Tiny persimmon butter. 2 cups ripe pulp, a splash of lemon, 1 to 2 tablespoons sweetener if you like. Simmer to thicken 30 to 45 minutes. Cool and refrigerate. Persimmon pulp mask. Strain pulp, dilute 1 part pulp to 2 parts yogurt or aloe or water. Patch test on inner forearm for 24 hours, then apply for 3 to 5 minutes only.
If you try any of these, send us a quiet note. Describe the texture or a small moment you noticed. Little observations make these rituals richer.
If you've enjoyed sitting with Persimmon today, please subscribe so these gentle plant stories can find their way back to you. We'll return with more slow kitchen projects and small sensory rituals, simple steps you can weave into the week.
Follow along, share the episode with someone who likes small seasonal projects. And if you make a tiny jar, tuck a note in. Those neighborly jars are always a joy.
Let's take a gentle step into nature's wisdom.